So I wanted to give you a quick overview of Unit 2 in 6th grade math, looking at introducing ratios. A lot of the vocabulary, as you can see from the summary at the top, is that ratio and rate, equivalent ratios, per, at this rate, constant speed, constant rate. We're not using unit rate yet, but we are kind of heading in that direction. This unit does a fantastic job of moving from very concrete to abstract over the lessons within it. So it starts with just counting objects and building that idea of ratios from there in the early units, and then starting with just diagrams where each picture represents a thing. So it's a one-to-one correspondence in those early diagrams that are very discrete diagrams. Once we move to equivalent ratios and kind of build that up, in the pacing guide, 3 and 4 is an either or, but if you have time to do both, I think it would really help that equivalent ratio idea. And then in lesson 5, they're going to be explicitly defining equivalent ratios, which builds to scale factor in unit 7 or in 7th grade, and then to dilating figures in 8th grade. When they get into representing equivalent ratios, we move into double number line diagrams. So we go from that discrete representation to a continuous representation, and they take their time by reusing the same context that are in the early lessons here. We just add the new representation without adding new context as well. And then at the end of this section, we move to kind of unit price, constant speed. We're not to unit rate yet, but we're kind of heading in that direction for the future. And then this last lesson 10, looking at comparing two situations by looking at the ratios there. In lesson 11, we look at representing ratios with tables. So we're moving to a more abstract representation and kind of comparing tables and double number lines and looking at when each one is a more powerful tool, and then solving ratio problems towards the end of this. The last section is on part-part-whole. We move to tape diagrams, which can be a good representation of that part-part-whole relationship. And then at the end of that, lesson 16, really doing a comparison of tape diagrams, tables, double number lines, and just discrete diagrams, and pulling together when each one is most effective and giving kids a chance to decide which they like the most and which they enjoy using.